So I'm a little bit late to this topic, but in like halfway through towards the end of December, some 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 right winger called Nick Shirley made a video about welfare fraud in Minnesota, in the Somali immigrant community in particular. Now, there's a number of issues with with the video itself, with the charges, with the claims, but there's a number of things I want to talk about, but I'm going to begin with the idea of welfare fraud in the first place, and what creates incentives for welfare fraud. So in the United States, we are a completely neoliberal society. Everything that we do, every action we take, but especially on a political level, but even on an interpersonal level, everything is at the end of the day, it is meant to, at some point, maybe not in the action, but at some point, help us be more profitable individuals, help us make more money, help us make somebody else more money, whatever it may be. And so when it comes to welfare, we are very anti-welfare as a society. We don't like social safety nets. We don't like the idea that somebody cannot participate in the system in the ways that we all participate in the system and still be able to survive. It's a bit of a mafia-esque relationship between the economic system and the people who make up the economic system. Do capitalism or die. That is America in a nutshell. That being said, it's very, very cruel to make people experience reality in that way. And politicians over the last 100 or so years, as they have recognized that they can't just let the poor die. That's pretty bad. They will riot and they'll probably kill you in the streets. So instead of just letting the poor die the way that capitalism would create without any intervention, we do have a bit of a welfare system. In European countries, welfare systems are a bit more robust. And in America, our welfare system used to be a bit more robust. But these days, ever since Bill Clinton turned welfare into temporary assistance for needy families, welfare is very slapdash. It's like one program here, a quarter program there, a fifth of a program in this area. But one of the things that all of the welfare programs do is that they partner with the market forces. Okay, now that's an issue because market forces, as I described when describing the society at large, if the goal of everything is to make a profit, then what do you think happens when the government says, "Hey, we're going to give these people some money so that they can help you because you're poor, but you're doing it through private entities"? They have only profit as their motive, right? And the point of saying all that is to say, fraud in welfare systems is not a surprising thing. It's not a surprising thing when you have public-private partnerships. Now, if you actually had public systems that could distribute food, for example, housing, whatever it may be, that didn't include some intermediary who has profit making as an incentive, then, okay, fine, we're talking about welfare fraud. I can get a bit more upset. But with the public-private partnerships that we have and that we necessitate for all forms of governance and social programs in this country, of course there's welfare fraud. So then what's the issue with like the Somali community, right? What is the why is this popping off in this way? This is really an instance of the new right wing propaganda, which is really more slopaganda because they're so goddamn lazy. The thing about telling a lie is that it's really, really, really easy. The hardest part of lying is not telling the truth. So if these people are trying to convince you that the whole Somali community is stealing trillions of dollars from Minnesota or whatever, and they're pausing like all of these daycare programs across the country, they're very clearly not doing that because they care about fraud. Because if they cared about fraud, what they would do is institute a system where welfare was distributed directly by the government, or even, I mean, anything other than just saying, oh, the Somalis are all doing fraud. Like it's a silly notion, and it's also not even borne out by the facts. When you look at the biggest instance of fraud that was widely publicized, the person who was at the head of it was a white woman. So it's silly. It's this propaganda, and it's really it's part of a broader phenomenon as well. Because the guy Nick Shirley, who made this video about the Somali fraud in Minnesota, he he's he probably could have enrolled in one of those daycares himself if he really tried. He's not a very smart individual, and this is a problem that's long standing in American society because we don't value education enough. We only care about profit. But in particular, in the last few years, especially since Elon Musk bought Twitter, political discourse has degraded to the extent that everyone is now 9 years old. You can't get any older than 9. Once you start talking about I don't know, research and background and expertise, everyone checks out because everyone's 9 years old. So this propaganda that we're seeing come out of the right wing right now is a sign of the times more than it is, a new development. They're kind of flailing because the Nazis, they made good propaganda. Like, I mean, it wouldn't have convinced me. I'm a socialist, but they at least got a good portion of the German people on board with their project. This administration is so insanely. I mean, they're just children. There's just a bunch of children running around doing hardly anything. Um, but yeah, overall, the situation with the welfare fraud, it's a red herring, you know. And honestly, I'm noticing people start to say that everything that's happening in political discourse is to distract from the Epstein files, and you know, I don't think that's even the case. But I'd rather people say that because it kind of is. I mean, at the end of the day, we are ruled by this elite pedophilic cabal. They tell us what to do. They control all society, and then they treat us like little children, like little lemmings that they get to manipulate to whatever ends they choose. Um, and you see this especially recently with the ICE shooting, something I'll probably make a video about as well. But there's hardly even an effort to justify their actions, to make things make sense, because this administration is no longer just attacking the things that right wingers have attacked historically. They're now coming at the basic foundations of society. They're coming at, for truth itself, which I don't think is a good gamble for them. And I don't think they're going to win. But it's important to be aware of, and it's important to understand how you can be manipulated through narratives. Because even if let's say 100% of Somalis in Minnesota were committing 100% of the welfare fraud in 100% of the daycares in Minnesota, the solution to that is not to kill Somalis or whatever, like the notion of to deport them or whatever right wingers and the MAGA movement and Republicans are trying to imply. The solution is very simple. The government can just directly provide services to people. There's no need for this middleman. The middleman introduces the ability for fraud. We could just get rid of it.